Your future success could depend on one thing, and in this episode, we're going to go over that. Picture this: your car dies and it's a $1,300 repair, or you lose your job. Do you pull out the 20% interest credit card, or do you breathe easy because future you set up a safety net that you can rely on? Today, I'll show you how big that safety net should be, where to keep it, and the fastest way to build it. Hey, I'm Daniel, and this is episode 3 of the Beginner Investing Roadmap. In episode 2, we went over how to budget. And in episode 3, we're going to go over how to build an emergency fund so that you don't have to sell your investments at a loss or rely on high interest debt. An emergency fund prevents forced bad decisions. By having an emergency fund, you won't have to pull out of your investments in a bad scenario or swipe a high interest card. It's your stability layer. Canada's financial guide says to have 3 to 6 months saved up for any unexpected expenses. You can save this gradually if the actual amount seems daunting at first. My advice would be to start with a starter cushion. Save 1 month of expenses and then start to attack your high interest debt. After that, you can finish the full fund. We'll go into the math here in a second. Now, how much should you have saved? If you've got a stable dual income and low fixed costs, I would recommend having a minimum of 3 months saved up. If you are a single income, have a variable income, or have dependents, I would recommend a minimum of 6 months. If you're self-employed / commission-based or in a volatile career, I would recommend having 9 to 12 months at minimum. This aligns with Canadian regulators and investor education guidance. Remember that this is a guideline, so you need to adjust this to your specific needs. I personally chose to have 4 months of an emergency fund. Alright, now there's 2 ways that you can calculate this. The first one is a monthly expense-based idea. So take your monthly expenses that you got from the last video and multiply them by the target months that you have for your emergency fund. The FCAC has noted that either of these methods is fine, so choose whichever one is easiest for you. Personally, I went with the expense-based. Alright, now let's look at where we should keep it. Remember that this needs to be in a safe, accessible area so that you can use it in a moment's notice. The best place to put it would be in a high-interest savings account at a CDIC members institution. Eligible high-interest savings accounts deposits are insured up to $100,000 per category. An example would be TFSAs. They are a separate insured category. Here are some absolutely vital distinctions that you should make sure you're aware of. High-interest savings accounts deposits are insured by CDIC member institutions. However, this does not include money market ETFs or mutual funds. Money market funds are generally very safe and liquid. However, they are not CDIC insured like deposits are. In a later video, I will go into how I break down my emergency fund. Cashable GICs are a great way to maximize your percent returns on your emergency fund. However, it's important to look at the possible penalties of withdrawing early as well as what the maturation date is, because these can affect when you have access to your emergency fund. That impacts your liquidity, which is a vital part of having an emergency fund. You can use your TFSA as a home for your emergency fund if you want to maximize your tax-free earnings. However, keep in mind that you only have so much that you can put in your TFSA each year. By using up your contribution room, if you have an emergency, you won't get that back if you have to withdraw it. In another video, I will go over how I split my emergency fund between a TFSA, a non-registered account, and my bank account. Alright, now let's look at how to build it fast. The first step is to set the starter buffer. Park 1 month of expenses as soon as possible. Not having an emergency fund is an emergency and needs to be looked after. Dave Ramsey recommends having a starter emergency fund of $1,000. While this can work for individuals with a lower cost, I personally don't recommend it, as big emergencies can arise and having only $1,000 can really set you back if a big emergency does arise. This starter emergency fund will protect you while you kill off the high interest debts. We'll go over some strategies to kill high interest debts in the next episode. Step 2. Automatically transfer a set amount of money into a separate bank account every paycheck. By placing your emergency fund in a separate bank account, You won't have to worry about falling into temptation and uselessly spending the money away. Even just setting aside $50 to $100 every week will snowball quite quickly. Alright, now step 3. Tackle your high debt in parallel. While you maintain the starter buffer, tackle your high interest debt, this being things like payday loans, credit card debt, anything with a high percent value. We'll go into strategies on how to get rid of this debt in the next episode. Remember that every dollar you put towards paying off debt is guaranteed returns relative to the interest rate you're paying on that debt. Step 4 is to top up to full. After paying off all your bad debts, raise the auto transfer number to get to your target within 3 to 6 months. If you prefer, you can do this quicker. If you want to have your emergency fund done even faster, then by all means go for it. But stick to what is attainable and reasonable for you. If you have an irregular income, set aside a percent of each deposit that you get. This could be 10 to 20%, and do this until you reach the goal. So, why does this work? With no buffer, a $1,300 repair on a 20% card costs roughly $260 in interest over 12 months. If you only chip away at it. With a buffer, that same repair costs $0 in interest, and you can rebuild steadily. Alright, this part is vital to your success. What is it used for? An emergency fund is used specifically for emergencies. Some examples would be job loss, health bills, dental bills, anything that is an emergency that you have to have done no matter what. It is not for vacations, sales, gifts, and especially not for investments. If an emergency does arise, make sure to rebuild it. Set up your auto pay again and automatically transfer the money in until it is back to full. Alright, and here are some quick safety notes. If you are in Canada, make sure that your institution is a CDIC-insured institution. This protects $100,000 over each category. Remember that your bank account and your TFSA are different categories. Make sure you understand these rules. Also make sure you understand that ETFs and mutual funds are not covered, even if it's in your TFSA. Make sure to keep in mind that bonds and money market funds do carry some risk. In another video, I'll go over how I break down that risk and spread it across different areas. Lock in a starter fund within the next 30 days and aim to reach your emergency fund target within the next 3 to 6 months. In the next episode, we'll go over how to kill your bad debt. We'll compare things like the avalanche method to the snowball method so that you can free up cash to invest even faster. Subscribe so you don't miss it and comment down below. Are you going expense-based or income-based to reach your target? A link to the Beginner Investor's Roadmap will be provided down below. Keep in mind that episodes 1 to 3 will be immediately released upon drop, and any of the following episodes will be released once per week until we finish the series off. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next episode, How to Kill Bad Debt.